a rippling pool of water. And you can see we might throw a stone in and make a choice in our lives, but those choices ripple out and they have effects not only in our own lives through the years, but also in the lives of other people. So I think choices is a great topic for the Live Well, Live Strong quilt as an aspect of health and wellness for women, and to have that reflection that choices that we make will have that impact on others and on our own personal lives and our health and our wellness. So that's what we're talking about today. The Live Well, Live Strong quilt has 26 quilt blocks about health and wellness for women. It is a sampler quilt, and we are working on the Choices quilt block today. So you can get the pattern at Stitches Quilting. I organize mine into a binder like this, where I put it with sheet protectors, and then we also have worksheets about each aspect of health and wellness that corresponds with the quilt block itself. So we are doing choices. The quilt comes in 60 by 60 inches. It comes as a bed runner. It also comes as a king, queen, twin, or full size. And this year we are doing the sew along with the teeny tiny foundation paper piecing quilt that is 20 by 20 inches. Hello to Linda from Michigan. It is so good to see you. And this is our choice quilt block that goes into the small one. So on Wednesday, we'll be doing the tutorial for the Choices quilt block, and it is with foundation paper piecing. But today, we're doing the tutorial on the standard Rippling Choices quilt block. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me know where you are from, what you are doing today, and I will tell you about some of my daily adventures. And let me go ahead and get out that worksheet. Well, actually, we're gonna go over a couple different things. So let's go ahead and lay this out. I'm gonna show you my workspace that I'm working on. So let's go ahead, and here is how I'm stitching today. So I am using my design board to go ahead and lay out this quilt block with the different pieces. And so it's kind of logical, and the pattern has the layout for you. I have already pre-sewn this section of the quilt block. But what you would do, these are white triangles that are offsetting the different layers of ripples in our lives that happen. Hello, Sue from Kentucky. Hi, Liz. And we've got Jane from South Wales, too. So it's so good to see all of you guys. And we've got Pat from Canada. It's so awesome. I'm so excited. So let's go ahead and get started with this quilt block. I have to tell you, you guys, Luke got discharged from a hospital yesterday, or this weekend, and he now has his own independent adult living apartment. So we'll talk about that choice that I made in my life and in Luke's life, and talk about how it's going and the impact of that. So let's go ahead. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to sew these 3 different strips together just to kind of give you that illustration of stitching these little quilt blocks together. I pre-sewed this so we wouldn't have such a long video. Hello, Bonnie from Nova Scotia, Canada. I love it. I love having every single one of you guys. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we had a little dusting of snow, but we haven't had much snow this actual year. So anyways, okay, so I've got the navy blue, I've got a denim blue. So you guys have, this is the standard colors of the Live Well, Live Strong quilt, but you guys have done the most beautiful blocks through the years of this Choices quilt block, and I absolutely love how you guys have combined fabrics. I'm going to sew together my 3rd rectangle to this block using my 1/4 inch seam of the quilter's, my quilting foot on my sewing machine. And I'm using some Orifil thread here. So choices are something that we have to make in our life. And as we take intentional choices in our lives, we can really kind of come out with some of the better outcomes. I'm going to go ahead and press this as I go along the way. And that's a choice I'm making so that my quilt block can be a little bit more, I don't know, just look really good as I'm pulling it together. So let's go ahead and lay this. And actually, I might lay this up here for you so you can see what this looks like. It has a little bit more contrast, this gray. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these offsetting triangles on this little square block right here. in the pattern on whatever page, you have to take these 3 rectangles and then square them down to 4.75 inches. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So we want to make sure that this is a square 4.75. And that's really critical that you go ahead and do that as you are stitching away, because you definitely, when you are dealing with offsetting triangles, and we have this quilt block that is actually on point, we want that to be a good even square, and you do want to do this. So make sure it shows it in the pattern, and I'm actually going to show you how it tells you to do that. So whenever you see this step in the Live Well Live Strong pattern to square up your squares as you're constructing your block, you do want to make sure that you are squaring up the squares in between your blocks. So let me go ahead and pull out that page of the pattern. Mary, I love these blues too. Okay, here's the pattern right here. You can get this at Stitches Quilting, but right here in the pattern, there we go, there is a yellow highlighted block right there, and it gives you the instructions on squaring up that unit. So whenever you see that, that's definitely not something you want to just kind of wing it and skip that step. So let me move that over. We're going to bring this here, and my navy blue is the very bottom. We are going to go ahead and let's put these back on here. Remember, your triangles are a bit larger than your actual square itself, so you're going to have some dog ears hanging off each end. So let's go ahead and put this on here. Okay, so let me tell you about Luke. You guys, his apartment is absolutely beautiful. It is an adult supervised living apartment, so there are people there 24 hours a day that are there to supervise him. They do not live in the apartment. It's a 3-bedroom apartment with two other roommates. He doesn't have his roommates yet, but he will be getting some. And so there are staff there to help them take their medicine, help them do their things like cooking or shopping. Oh, I lost a thread up here. Let me go ahead and re-thread my machine. Darn it. I heard that go. But he is doing so good. He's got the little master and bedroom suite of the apartment, and the agency that helps run the apartment is just wonderful. And for those of you that don't know, I have an adult son that is in the autistic spectrum and just developmentally delayed. And so this, I've got to hand feed this with my reading glasses. And so what we are doing is, now that he's 24, we are transitioning him to an adult living, independent living situation. So I'm not constantly harassing him to take his medicine, pack his lunch. It's driving him crazy because he really wants to be self-determined and have independence in his life. So we are working on this. I am really glad that I didn't wait for this to happen. If one day I passed away, which I will, he'll probably outlive me, but I'm so grateful that I made the choice to actually do this with him and to select where he's going to be. Now on here, real fast, I am going to want to rather move my seam allowances in, if possible, as I'm constructing this. And so let's go ahead and do this along here so that the darker fabric is going behind the darker edges. You can't completely do this with this block, but for some of them you will, just opposite each other. Okay, so I've done this part. You now need to fold this and finger press. Finger press your block. So I'm folding that so my seam allowances have matched right along there. So I'm peeking beyond that triangle, and I'm not going along the center of this entire triangle unit, just the center of this square right here in the middle. And you could actually do a finger press on this prior to sewing these triangles on if you want to. So I'm going to get a good finger press right there. And the reason why I'm doing that is I want to place this triangle, just in case you cut it a little wonky, with the point matching the center of this rectangle unit. And if you want to, the other thing you can do is just put, if you can't see the center of where that finger press is, put a pin right there to help you know you're pointing that down in the right spot. let's take this over to the sewing machine and do this right here. So I'm glad that I made the decision to do this with Luke and the choice to do this with Luke right now. I'm able to select the place and the people that are working with him, and I'm able to then help him navigate everything and give him the confidence that he can do this. Instead of something like this happening, you know, when he moves out of his childhood home and nobody is there to kind of help him manage it and to help him go, you know, to move through this transition. Okay, so we're back to the design board, the quilt block design board right here. I'm going to go ahead and match these up. So you can see that my choice here with Luke, this is just one example, makes a difference not only in my life, but in his lives and the lives of other people. Let's match this up so it's right sides together, and we're going to sew this last piece on here. When I constructed this block, I did this side just like this side, and this center strip, I did it as one consecutive center strip right along there. Okay, so does that give you an idea there? This I sewed completely together. I sewed this one right here. You can see kind of my seaming. I sewed that as one big long center strip. And now I am attaching this other side of the quilt block onto the opposite side here. So once again, we're in this quilt, we learn to match our points and make everything match up. So I'm going to pin right here so that I'm going to make sure that as I'm stitching along on this, especially because this is a quilt block that has, it's on point, which means you've got lots of triangles in there and things can kind of go a little ski-wampus. I'm giving you extra room for your actual dog ears so that you can actually make sure that you've got a good fit on there without stretching your triangles too much. So let's go ahead and stitch this together with the 1/4 inch seam, and we will have this quilt block done. Okay, so we can control the choices that we make often in our lives. Sometimes we're in tricky situations and we can't control that. But we do need to accept the consequences of our choices and of the hard things we have to do in life. I do have to say I kind of had the rug pulled out of me with all of this transition with Luke and Luke being in the hospital and everything. But I do have to say that what I have planned now is to just start to expect the rug to get pulled out from under me. I'm going to set aside my design board over here. And so I'm going to expect that so I'm not disappointed, and kind of in theory carry a pillow around to catch me if something is just unexpected. So his first night in his apartment, he didn't sleep because it was kind of like a hard transition for him. And it was on a Saturday night, so it was hard for me to get help or medicine for him, you know, to make sure he was going to sleep the next night. I didn't want him to go 2 nights with no sleep because we don't make good choices when we don't have sleep, right, ladies? Okay, so remember, this is the Choices quilt block. It's a rippling Choices quilt block, as if you threw a rock in the middle of a pool of water, and then you can watch those ripples go out. And it's interesting even to have a pool of water and throw 2 rocks in there, and then to watch the rippling effect on each other. So we are not isolated in this world. The choices that we make do affect other things. So on the quilt block the worksheet that we have here, we talk about choices. One of the things that I go ahead and mention here is you are free to choose, but you're not free from the consequences of your choices. So, you know, we want to make sure that we have making intentional choices, and those choices can then have a positive effect on our lives. When we make our choices, we want to identify what our options are. We want to have good positive thought as we make those choices, maybe pause and really study things out. We want to make those choices that are consistent with our beliefs and values. So we want to make sure that those choices are consistent with beliefs and values. And we've already done worksheets that helped you identify some of the values that you have. You want to take action after making a decision, and then you want to look back and you want to study that result and study how things are working out. So just remember that kindness produces a positive ripple effect. And we have no idea the countless lives that we can have an impact on that can ripple for generations and generations. So remember that the choices that you make affect not just you right now, but people around you and for generations to come. So, and remember, there's lots of very brave, courageous people that have made in your ancestry positive choices that have hopefully impacted your life for the good. So anyways, that's what the quilt block is today. The choices quilt block. We will come back on Wednesday. So work on different goals. So there's some different goals in here for choices this week. Make choices consistent with your values. Study a choice. Release anxiety. Corey reminded me of today. I said, I'm going to just be ready for the rug to get pulled out from under me. And he said, you know, in Gone with the Wind, what is the lead actress's name? But she said, I can't do anything about that today. I'm going to take that on tomorrow. So sometimes we have to pause on making too many fast knee-jerk choices and just pause and like study that on the next day. So you guys take it one step by step because these are hard times. But as we go through these hard times, it is refining us. Just like as you melt gold and it's being melted and all the impurities are coming out of it, so it becomes more of a pure gold. And as we go through hard times and hard choices or hard things that we're having to do, we go ahead and struggles and trials, we're melting ourselves down to become a purer person or pure form of who we need to be and who God intends us to be. Okay, you guys, we will be back on Wednesday to make the Live Well Live Strong Rippling Choice quilt block for the mini version. And this is the Live Well Live Strong in the 20 by 20 inch version that is foundation paper pieced. So I will see you on Wednesday. I can't wait to see. Thank you, Liz, Scarlett O'Hara. Thank you, Mary. Yes, Scarlett. So we can always watch Gone with the Wind and be inspired, right? Or at least Corey will remind us. See you guys on Wednesday at noon. And love you guys tons. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much.